call this meeting to order. Glad we've got people showing up here. There'll be no public comment today. So I'm going to read the ethics statement and then we'll get right into the meat of the matter. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the council, all council members have a duty to conduct affairs of the governing body in an open and public manner, free of conflicts of interest. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, readily identifiable physical impact for any council member, his or her family, or close business associates?
No.
Does any council member, have a financial interest in any public contract coming before this council today?
No.
There being none, all council members have a duty and obligation to vote. And now I'm going to consider a budget amendment for temporary repair of the Lakeview Center for Active Aging.
All right, so you've got some information we sent out to you in regards to this, and not to make it more complicated than it is. We're asking for $15,000. I think that should be enough to cover this. We're budgeting from the general fund to get the stairs of Lakeview back up and going for the seniors and other folks. And really, that's what it is. We can talk about it as much as you want to, but at the end of the day, I think we all want to get that open. And voting to give staff the authority to use $15,000, let us go to work and get it done.
Josh, would you mind to just share, like, next steps in the process?
So the next steps on the process, you know, we're very, as you say, we're very process oriented. So we will go through a process to do this. We will, the mayor has gotten some quotes, which is great, a great beginning and a great start for us. We will kind of do the same thing, make it all above board. We go to work. That's, I mean, in simple terms, that's it. Like any other construction project, any other project we do, we get the information, we choose who we think's the best, and we go for it. And being that this is $15,000, you don't have to meet, you know, there's no formal bids or any of that stuff we have to go through. Pretty straightforward.
And what we're speaking about here is a temporary repair to the top. It was not done, it was not caused by FEMA. And so therefore, this is just a repair, where it's needless to say, the town will have to get a building permit. Everyone that does anything needs a building permit. But to require sealed documents and a floodplain permit, that can be in the process.
It will be in the
But it does not need to be in the process.
It will be in the process.
But it doesn't have to be in the
It
process.
has to be in the process.
It
will
does
be
not.
in the process.
Can you please show me of the paper that says that
Happy
it's
to
got
do
to be
Happy to do
in
that
the
after this
process?
meeting. Happy to do that after this meeting.
I'd like to know right now.
I'm not gonna
because
show
then
you
if it's-
anything right now, Mr. Mayor. We will
Well,
follow
then
the process like we do for every other project.
This
we do in this
is
town.
hair.
Excuse me, why don't you just share why we would want the floodplain?
Because we're doing work in a floodplain. I'm happy to have Jessica come and speak to
Yeah,
that.
that'd be great.
The problem with this building, if it would have been fixed correctly in 1976, we wouldn't be in this situation right now.
I'll keep this short
So
and
we're gonna
sweet.
do things the correct way.
So anytime you do work on a building in the floodplain, even if it's interior work, you have to have a floodplain development permit. That's federal law. And the reason that is you have to track investment on structures over time, because if it tips a certain percentage, the building has to come up to all applicable codes. So that's a requirement. The other one is that the general statute does require an engineer sign off on repairs to public buildings. That's
Okay. And we've already
As
had
in all cases,
one.
we don't wanna be,
They weren't
procured
procured
with
by law, so you have, but we do have someone, if you read your agenda, we already have somebody procured, we reached out then to check their availability.
Thank you. And so what we see here, this assessment is underway from there, and it's also the temporary repair solution to reopening the second floor. So is the town waiting on a report for both of those before they proceed on?
I'll just answer that really quick. They've made their site inspection, and have their documents necessary to make their assessment required for future decision-making about the building and how to go about repairing and everything based on flood damages, I have reached out to them separately to prepare the documents for the building permit, because they're already procured.
The documents are already procured for,
The company's procured, not that they have to create the documents.
This is the company that's been selected through the process that we've already been through with all of the damaged
Yep.
buildings
Yep.
complete. And so we already know that this, this firm has met standards that we hold in town so that,
They were procured by, they were federally procured, so it's the most stringent method of
Thank you.
procurement. The RFQ was written specifically in a broad manner to do anything required for that structure, so they can legally engage in work necessary to get a building permit in addition to everything related to flood damages.
so will they be the ones looking for a floodplain development permit?
No, the town looks for the floodplain development permit.
Has that process started?
No,
Why would we've already done this? We know we gotta try to fix the place. Why
because
haven't
you
we
have
already
to.
gone ahead and done it?
A floodplain development permit requires you say what you're doing, and so this first floodplain development permit will only note the cost and type of work associated with the temporary repair. A floodplain development permit for the repair of the building will be more complicated and have to include the full scope of that work approved.
For the scope downstairs, I could understand that, not for the repair upstairs. We already know what the
If
repair
you repair
upstairs
a
is.
bathroom in your house and you live in a floodplain, you have to get a floodplain development permit.
I think the first step is that
Why can't
this
we
board,
do
the
that
first,
already? That's what
Because you
I'm
have not applied for a building
It's
permit.
time. We're
Okay,
just simply.
I'm done answering.
and I think the first step here is clear that the council needs to instruct the staff to move forward with the repairs here. So I would suggest, I think that there's consensus, at least, well, I don't wanna speak for everyone, but, I am prepared to, go ahead and instruct staff to, make the budget amendment, of $15,000, to move forward the temporary repair for the Lakeview Center.
I'm comfortable with that, and Mayor, I hear your frustration about the time that this is taking, but this is not something we wanna cut corners with.
This is no one wanting to cut corners.
Well, then
Your
let's
mayor's
follow the
not one that-
procedure.
We could have procedures, but this is not mandated to do all this as is specified by Josh and Jessica there. You know, this is the thing.
We just read you general statute. I'm happy to give you copies of that.
Yeah.
Happy to
Let's say we
do
go
that.
ahead and
And
vote,
then-
please.
Is any more discussion? I'd like to also ask, if Eric cannot perform the work within a reasonable timeline, can someone please tell me why we can't give them a time frame to get this temporary, repair document done? How long will this take?
Take longer than a couple of weeks, honestly. Don't know for sure, but it doesn't seem like something that's gonna be that challenging to do with the upstairs.
You're saying the work or the whole process?
He's talking about the timeline. Trying to get that together.
Yeah, on page 5 here, number 2, it says if Aaron cannot perform the work within a reasonable timeline, staff will issue an RFQ for the engineering service. I just think that this is, you know, as long as this has taken over a year, and it is very, very frustrating. I'm very frustrated with, as are the citizens of this. And then the idea that we've got to go ahead and get 3 bids, there's nothing requiring us to get 3 bids. Just simply, you could just go right ahead and just simply, okay, from one bid, you can do that, you have the authority to do that.
You know, none of these bids were received under anyone's authority. So we're gonna do it the correct way.
No, you went ahead, I came to you
Yes, you did.
and asked you, can I go get a bid on this, and you said yes.
Yes, you can. That's correct. Because you would not leave me alone. So yes, that's correct. And it continues, and continues, and continues, just like it is right now. We're ready to vote on it and go to work.
Yeah.
That's all that needs to be said. We're ready to
Can I
do
ask
it.
you one question, why wasn't this done November the 6th, 2024? Why didn't
Because we had the
address
worst
this then?
natural disaster we've ever had in history in this town. That's why. That's correct. We were working on getting water back for this town.
So
Other
we're-
things were being done on November sixth, 2024.
I've heard the wind blow before.
Yes, you have, and I hear it blow all the
That's
time.
That's it. Well, that's all I can say.
I have one thing to say.
Yes, go right ahead.
It has nothing to do with this. It amazes me. How, and you mentioned a national disaster. It amazes me. How as a community, we came together during that time. Like it was, we were once one big family, just one big family. Everybody working together. Nobody calling each other names. Nobody arguing between each other. And we were doing the best that we could to hold this town together. And look at us. Arguing between each other. We forget so quickly who we are, or who I think we are supposed to be. And we fall back into who we really are. Because that's what you show. You show who you really are. There is not one person sitting up here that doesn't want the senior center open. I know I do. Well, I know I do. I can't say it. I can't speak for everyone else. I know I do. But I'm not gonna call you names, and I'm not gonna argue with you. I have an opinion. Everybody else has an opinion. You have an opinion. I'm gonna respect it. I'm gonna respect your opinion. If you disagree with mine, that's fine. But let's remember that we are a community. Let's remember that we do all live here. So let's just go ahead and get this done. And that's all I have to say about that.
Anybody else have any other comments they'd like to make? Just to follow up on Archie's comment, only anyone's called anyone any names today.
Not today, I didn't say today.
Didn't call it any names.
I didn't say today. I did not say today.
And you talk about that, you really show who you are. I am damn proud that I am trying to get this senior center open. And I will do what nobody else has put in the time and effort that I have. And it's been months that I've been going through this to try to get this board to address this issue. It's only because of the fact that it made it into the papers and stuff, and the seniors showed up, did this board finally take it on themselves to go ahead and step forward and do what needs to be done.
But isn't that what?
I would say that I appreciate Archie's, the vice mayor's comments a lot. There's been a lot of hurtful things said, a lot of comments elsewhere about us personally. And the fact that you've put a lot of work in has never been disputed, Mr. Mayor. We all understand that you've been focused and working on a lot of things for the town. But that doesn't mean the rest of us haven't been working hard too. And it doesn't mean that the staff hasn't been working hard. It's not a competition about who's putting the most time in. And every meeting doesn't have to turn into a contentious situation. We have a chance to state what we think, to share our opinions, to ask our questions and to make our motions and vote. And sometimes the others agree with each other and sometimes they don't. Sometimes the citizens don't get what they want every time. I certainly don't get what I want every time. But we don't have to be so mean about it. It doesn't have to be mean. It's really unfortunate that it's turned out this way in this case because nobody wanted the senior center to stay closed any longer than it had to. But as information unfolded and evaluations and assessments of the building transpired and we realized the situation evolved and our options changed. And to say we could have done anything on November 4th was just not accurate. Or November 6th, I forget which one you said, but we were just hoping we could vote on November 6th. That was still up in the air, whether we could actually have elections and where would we vote and how would that all work. So I'm just hoping that going forward, it doesn't have to turn into such an ugly situation and to imply that we didn't do anything because until the press got involved, is just not true. We've been talking to the press since this happened about our options and since the storm happened, and I'm pretty sure every single one of us up here is available to talk to citizens in person, one-on-one, on the phone, whatever works for them to hear their concerns, email. And I know that we're all trying to be real responsive. But there's been a lot of hurtful things said in the last few weeks, and there was just no need for that. Just no need at all for that. I'd ask that we go ahead and move the vote on the motion.
There's a motion on the floor, it's been seconded, we've discussed it. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it passes. I certainly hope that it doesn't take till New Year's to get the seniors back in. This meeting's adjourned.